Today's upcoming video is with Frank Patalano. Frank's a fun guy who used to be a school teacher until he turned into a full-time real estate investor. He's done a little bit of everything. He's done some single-family rentals, he's flipped, he's done some hard money lending, he's now investing into large apartment syndications. So he's a wealth of knowledge, he has some fun stories, so really is a great episode and there's a lot to learn from this one. As always, like and subscribe on YouTube if that's where you're watching. And if you're listening on iTunes, please give me a 5-star rating or write a great review, or ideally both, if you think the episode is worthy. Also, it's available on Spotify and PodBean, as well as wrestlingwithrealestate.com. So enjoy today's interview with Frank. It's a good one.
Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to chokeslam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler and now Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multifamily real estate investor, Barri Griffiths. Now today we have Frank with us. How are you doing, Frank?
Great, sir. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming here to join us on this show. We're very happy that you made time today, and I'm excited to hear all about your investing career. But before that, do you want to tell us a little bit about your background and kind of what your focus is right now?
Sure. So I was started out by being a full-time school teacher, and what I did is gradually you can do a couple different things with your money, but the money kept growing, not a ton, but you start having all that side money. You can either blow it all or donate it. And I figured, why don't we try investing some of it? So I had to go out there and figure out ways to invest. And I had lost money in the stock market a little bit. So I was lucky enough to catch the cycle last time around and started to buy some smaller multifamilies and single families. And what was really cool is I was able to get it to grow. And then after about 10 years, I was able to quit my full-time job and just do real estate full-time.
Very cool, very cool. So what year did you start investing?
So let's see. The first time I bought a small multifamily was in 2009.
Okay. So
Yep.
and then you said you're in Rhode Island, right?
Yep.
So was that a good time, 2009? Because in some markets it didn't bottom out until say 2011, 2012 even.
So overall, it was a great time. I mean, yeah, I might have been a year or two early, but I don't think so in our area. For our area, I joked that we closed on our single-family personal residence in 2005.
Okay.
So I joke because we closed on it and signed the note April Fool's Day, 2005. So we definitely overpaid for it, actually. So every market's different, and in my local neighborhood, we still have not gotten back to those prices.
Wow.
Pretty crazy. I mean,
From
we don't
2005.
care. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. We plan on living here for a long time. We love the neighborhood. So we're having our kids grow up here and everything else. But yeah, 2009 in our area, we were buying triplexes for, I bought my first one for $129. And to give you an example, that same house sold 4 years before for $275.
Okay. So you got a pretty good deal. What is it worth now?
Now it's probably around the 275 range again. It's back up there, but rents are a lot better than what they were. I mean, I was renting all 3 units combined for just under $1,900 when I first bought it, and right now it'd be touching around $3,000 a month total. About $1,000 a door. Yeah.
Well, that's a good ratio, though. You're living up to the name, the cash flow king, right now.
Oh, absolutely. All about if you're not buying at the 1% rule, then you might want to be careful.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah, absolutely. So and just for people who don't know, the 1% rule is where your monthly rents makes up 1% of your purchase price. Just for anyone, it's just a quick and down and dirty kind of calculation to kind of see if the deal makes sense when you're looking at maybe 10 deals a day. So you said you were a teacher. You were making some money on the sides that you wanted to do something with. You invested a little bit in the stock market. You said lost money. How did you find real estate? Because not everyone finds real estate, or they hear about it but they don't understand it. They never invest a day in their lives.
Well, I lucked out in some ways. I mean, my grandparents owned a little bit of real estate, and my dad owned a little bit of real estate, but the most of the stuff he owned was just a few single families. And I saw some of the. My dad was, let's put it this way, he was way too easy with people. So, and he did a lot of the work himself. So he was just an overall handyman and good guy. But I tried to think of ideas to still be a good guy and everything, but make it work. And one of the ways I thought it would make it work more was with the multifamily space. You know, because
Why was
think
it?
about it. You buy a single family in our market, it doesn't make that 1% rule, or it doesn't right now. You know.
But you can still buy in your market right now. You can still buy multifamily that meets that 1% rule.
Yeah, just barely. I mean, we're definitely doing it with some off-market deals, stuff like that. Not as much on the on-market, but you can still find them here or there.
Hmm. Okay. So you bought your first property in 2009. It was a triplex, you said, right?
Yep.
Uh, what does your portfolio consist of now?
So right now I have either with my wife as a partner or one other partner, depending on what deal. We have about 50 or so units locally.
Hmm.
And then nationally, we're involved. I'm the largest investor on a 50 unit in Idaho. We have deals in Texas and Kansas City, Missouri, stuff like that. But some of those are just, I'm just a limited partner through a syndication. So I might only be like a 1 to a 5% owner, but it still allows me to access other markets a little bit,
Hmm.
you know, which is really cool. And besides that, so besides just the standard cash flow stuff, we're also doing a flip or two on the side, you know, just to keep the money moving. We have a few small hard money loans that we've lent out to people. Those are some of my favorite, actually. You know, we've done pretty well with those over the years because you know, you might be lending money out to a friend and you get to pick the deal, and you might be lending it out at like 12% interest, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's something we haven't talked much about on this show before. So maybe talk a little bit about that. So how does that work? Um, yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
So I don't do a lot of lending because I like doing the deals in which when you do a hard money loan, say I lend out at 12%, that's basically the max that you're going to make on that money. Versus, I mean, you're not leveraging it; they're leveraging it with your money. So, but it does help if you mix it up a little bit. One deal, for example, about 8 years ago, I lent on a single family in a not the best area, and I owned the property. I picked up in foreclosure, and I didn't want it, so I sold it to a friend, no money down. And originally, I gave him a low interest rate, but then after about 5 years, it's like, hey, buddy, either sell it, refi me out, or something, and I had to start raising the interest rate. So every month I get a check for like $650. I think he owes me about $75,000 on the house, and it's pretty nice. And it's interest only. So a few years from now, eventually maybe he'll pay me off. We'll see. But
But it's nice, I guess, to get that money every month, just that check coming in without having
yeah,
to
I mean,
do anything.
and right now, I mean, he has a $75,000 loan on it. The house itself is probably worth about 140. So I mean, I have a good loan to value on it as well.
Yeah, yeah. So if anything ever happened, you know you've got plenty of equity to
Yeah,
go.
and you don't want to have to, but you know, I'm not going to be forgiving him that debt. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I like him, but I'm not married to him. You know, it's his choice right now. We're trying to get him to sell it. He's a good friend. I mean, I talk to him a couple times a month. So just deals like that. I mean, we've lucked out on some of the hard money stuff that we've done really well. And when we're doing flips, we usually borrow hard money from somebody else. I mean, we're on both ends. What's really nice is you know, with leverage, it's amazing. It's one of my favorite parts of real estate.
Yeah. Well, some people might be wondering who would pay 12% interest on a loan, right? But maybe to talk to those people why someone would pay 12% interest on a loan.
Yeah, so 12% is about the average in our market for a hard money loan. And if you're going to make 15, 20, 30% on a deal, it really doesn't matter to you. You know, so for example, I'll give you a story of a triplex. We bought a triplex back in December. We bought it for 290. and it was we'll call it an up and coming area of the Providence, Rhode Island market. I live in the area, and so we know the area pretty well. And we bought it. We put about $75,000 of repairs into it, and then we sold it for $475,000.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so it was a really good deal. I was 100% leveraged on it. We put down no money down. We have some connections that lend. It wasn't technically 100%. It was 12 and 2 points, so it was kind of 98% down. And they also lent us $50,000 of the rehab cost too. So he was getting good money. You know, he was getting a check for $3,400 a month, and then we sold it for $475,000, and we made good money.
And I think the point is, like you said, it's the leverage, the ability to leverage, right? When you're doing deals, especially with flips, right, they lend themselves more to being able to pay that higher interest rate, because hopefully if you're buying right and you know what you're doing, the profits are much higher. You might not necessarily want to get a 12% interest loan on a buy and hold, even though I know some people that have done and have done all right. And if it's something for a longer term hold, you obviously want a lower interest rate, but something with a flip where you're hopefully in and out in 6 to 9 months at most, you can afford to pay that, especially with getting paid on the back end.
Yeah, like you said, if it's a long-term deal, we have done some hard money where we'll buy it with hard money, fix it up, raise the rents or get some new tenants in there, and then we'll look for more some kind of portfolio lender, a local small credit union or bank that'll come in at 4% and lend us on like a 10 or 20-year or even 25 or 30-year amortization. So we picked up a 9-unit nearby about 2 years ago. We originally we were thinking about the hard money option, but we had 2 banks competing, and we had a bank that actually gave us a 30-year amortization. Wow. Which was awesome. And it's a commercial loan. It resets every 5 years on the interest rate. It's like 5-year fixed resets, but they're holding it in their own portfolio, so they're happy because they're getting better than a lot of other options. And we bought it 75% loan to value. So, and we've also raised rents. I mean, when we bought it, it was definitely under rented. The average rent in the building 2 years ago was $780 a unit, which is way below market. We raised everybody to $950 immediately, and not one person moved. That was still under market. But we wanted to give a benefit to the people that have been living there for a long time. So right now, new people are moving into that same building. I mean, we rehab the units over time, and they're now renting at $1,250 and $1,299. I think one of them moved into.
Nice. Wow. So people might be thinking, I want to buy a 9-unit with rents that low and just raise rents that low. How did you guys find the deal? And because not every 9-unit you find or any multifamily you find is going to have that, right? It's some of them.
Oh, definitely not. We've had offers at so we bought it for $600,000. We've had offers of $800,000 and even more, just sight unseen, just people contacting us that want to buy it. But we're holding out because it's in a beautiful area. How did we find it? It's all about connections. We love our local wholesalers. I am friends with many of the local wholesalers just through our networking. I mean, we have our Instagram page and our Facebook. We're posting stuff all the time, and we have a lot of people coming to us and just saying, hey, I got a deal. And sometimes we have to compete with other people, and sometimes we don't. I mean, sometimes they'll come to us and say, you're the first person seeing it. If you want it this price, you can have it. They're making money. We're making money. The seller wants to get out. They're making money. And it's a win-win-win for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Wholesalers can be a great deal source, right, for a lot of people. I'm sure people have heard of wholesalers before. What wholesalers basically do is they go out there and they find the deal, right? They find people usually who are motivated to sell for whatever reason, divorce, death. It can be for a whole host of reasons, right? There's some trouble financially, whatever the reason is, they find the deal, and usually they'll lock up the deal, and then they'll find someone like Frank who wants to buy the deal, and they'll get into contact, and then they'll sell the contract, and they'll make a little profit in between that, but they don't usually hold it. And it's a great resource for people who are buy and hold or even flippers as well.
Well, it's a great resource, especially for a seller that just doesn't want to be involved anymore and doesn't want to go through the whole bidding war process
Mhm.
and everything else where they get tons of inspections and negotiations and everything else. They just want a quick sale. So that deal, the 9 unit, the people lived 45 minutes away and they were still self-managing the deal. And they had owned it for probably about 20 years and they were just sick of it. They were sick of tenants. They were sick of fixing things up. So it worked out great.
Now, how do you guys create that friendship with wholesalers? Because obviously with wholesalers, they're in demand, right? They're the people finding the deals. You know, they're pretty popular amongst real estate investors, right? How do you create that friendship? How do you get them to bring you deals?
So, as you know, there are good wholesalers and there are bad wholesalers. There are good agents, there are bad agents. There are good lawyers and there are bad lawyers. You just got to be out there, and you keep over time. My biggest strength is networking.
Mm.
So I'm out there. I'm on the phone every single day, talking to people, stuff like that. You start to build relationships. You know, you might go out for coffee, network with them, everything else, and over time, they start to know what you're looking for. I'm not saying. I mean, they make good money too.
Mhm.
So it's not always the best deal, but usually it's pretty good, and we can always pass on it. I mean, they're not forcing us to buy the deal. And there was actually a recent deal where we bought a 4 unit, and we actually passed on it. We were the first people to see it. We passed on it. I thought it was a little pricey, and they actually had it locked under contract with somebody else. The day of the closing, the buyer, who we actually knew also, the buyer lost his job 1 hour before the closing. He was called into a meeting and said, by the way, guys, we're restructuring. Um, we're going to give you some kind of layoff package, but here you go. We're done. So it was weird. The buyer actually called us frantically and said, "Hey, I know you guys looked at it. I'm too nervous to do it right now. Will you guys take it over?"
Wow.
And we knew that the wholesaler, we knew the buyer. I mean, obviously we didn't know the seller, but yeah, we took it over. We closed on it. That was like on a Friday. We closed on it the next Tuesday or Wednesday. Like I said, we had originally passed. We didn't get any special deal, but it's about keeping the relationship. And we knew we were going to make money. We just didn't think it was enough of a spread. So we ended up closing on the deal. We made the wholesaler happy, and we definitely made the buyer happy, who was fearful of losing his deposit.
Yeah, and I think there's a few lessons there. One is that relationship that you've created with all these people. You talked about networking is one of your strengths. By creating that friendship and people knowing you, so when they know that they want to sell a deal, they come to Frank. They want, okay, we have this deal. Okay, we know Frank. We know he closes. And another thing is that you guys went ahead and closed on that, and that's another thing, that they know you guys are buyers. As I was talking about earlier with the wholesalers, it's important that they know that you're a buyer. But they probably get, I don't know, tons of people saying, yeah, I'm a buyer, I'm going to do this. And when it comes to, executing, people don't follow through. And I think it's important that, like you said, maybe that deal wasn't the best deal in the world. It was still probably a pretty solid deal knowing you. And as you seem to be buying right, it's still a probably solid deal. But you guys maybe would have liked a better deal, but you went ahead and closed, and you build that reputation up with that wholesaler. The other buyer knows that you guys are buyers. So all around, it's a beneficial transaction for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. So that deal, we borrowed at 100% financing.
Okay.
We borrowed with we have to put up all the rehab costs, which is fine. They gave us none of the rehab because it was a quick deal too. Like I said, we're closing basically in 4 days or 5 days,
Yeah.
counting weekend. So we basically we bought it for $330. It was a 4 unit. We need to do the fire coating, and we need to do the electric, and we're going to put it in the market. It's about 55,000 a rehab. Change over a 10 or 2, and then we're going to put it in the market for 450.
Nice.
You know.
Deal. So you said you guys are at 50 doors locally. How
Yep.
for some people that might sound like a lot, and it is a lot, no doubt it's a lot. But for someone starting out, how did you guys go from buying that first triplex to now owning 50 doors? It's quite a feat. Congratulations to start off with, because it's not easy to get to that point. So maybe talk a little bit how you guys got there.
It's all baby steps. Yeah, we bought a triplex the first year. The next year we bought 2. you know, and it doesn't always grow exponential either. I mean, there are some years where you might not buy anything. You just got to keep being out there and looking for deals. Even in this market, I mean, we're still looking for deals. We're not doing much on the buy and hold locally. We are still doing some buy and hold stuff nationally, but it's just about finding deals, you know. So
How,
about 2012, 2013, there was some, I felt that single families were a good deal. So we bought about 4 or 5 single families in like 2 years. You know, we bought them all at the 1% rule, which was awesome. You know, right now they're worth twice as much, basically. I mean, rents have gone up too, but we don't feel that they work right now. So we're actually selling all the singles where we are in the market.
and how were you able to finance all of those? Did you go all through traditional banking, commercial? How do you finance all of those?
Mostly through commercial mortgages. I mean, you can do a commercial mortgage on a single family. People are shocked when they hear that. We basically just found some local credit unions that were going to do portfolio lending and hold them in their own portfolio. I mean, we were still doing 25% down on almost all of them. And sometimes we'd buy with hard money, fix it up, and then do the refi.
So you said you guys were doing commercial lending on single family, right? Like you said, most people you don't think that's possible. Were you doing on a single property, or would you be doing on a portfolio of single
Oh,
family?
no, all single families, one at a time.
So one at a time. So how does that process work? Is it just the same as regular?
Yeah, it's just the same as regular because you know, if you're buying a single family house at 140,000, and you just got to put down at that on those we're buying with, you know, 25% down. So I mean, what's 25% down? It's about $35,000.
And then it would be 30-year loan, 20-year loan. Would there be a
So most of those were like 20-year or 25-year amortizations and 5-year fixed rates. So maybe some of those we might be at like 5%. I don't even know. I just write the check sometimes. I mean, I knew at the time,
yeah.
but as of right now, I don't know.
Okay.
Most of the pay. I mean, so for example, we have a single family right now. I think we're paying, our mortgage payment was $895 a month or something, and we're renting it for $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was just the principal and interest. I mean, don't forget, you still, I'm not saying we were making a killing on it because you still had the taxes, which are high in our market, the insurance, usually the landlords pay water and sewer. But what's nice is that the money was able to grow a little bit, and we lucked out with appreciation on those.
Nice. How are you guys managing these? Are you guys self-managing them?
So for the first 10 years, I did a lot of self-management, but it got to the point, especially for me, after I started managing about 15 doors on my own, I wasn't managing anymore. I was either buying with a partner who was going to manage, or then we went to third-party management.
Mm. And what was the decision? Why did you guys come to that decision?
Well, don't forget, I was full-time school teaching.
Okay, wow.
So, you know, so it got to the point that it's like, yeah, I don't want to deal with wasting my time, especially in the bottom of the market. You know, you're 2012, 2013, and you have 30 people that want to see an apartment, and then 2 people show up. You know, it's just a waste of time in some ways. I mean, I thought about it and was creative on different ways to make it happen, but now we just have full-time third-party management. I mean, we use basically 3 different property managers in the local market.
Okay, yeah. And I think, you know, there's a lot of value. I think people, when they start out, a lot of people self-manage and they think that, you know, that 8-10% fee is a lot, right? But I think as you grow and your portfolio grow and your priorities change, you realize that's a small fee to pay to create that freedom for yourself. Because if you're doing that 8 to 10%, whatever it is a month, right? It's not that much, right? I don't think property managers get paid a lot for actually what they do a lot of times, right? Your time could be spent so much better growing your business and growing your portfolio, you know, concentrating on where the money really comes, acquisitions, you know, networking with lenders, networking with private investors. And I think people focus too much sometimes on that 8 to 10% fee.
Well, and by the way, I agree 100%. So I have no problem with someone doing it, especially on the first one,
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, maybe property manage for the first year or so, or just learn it so that you have an appreciation and understanding of that third party management. I wouldn't always jump to third party management immediately. Or a lot of people, I think one of the best ways to invest in real estate right now on their first one is through house hacking.
Mm-hmm.
So just the whole concept of, buying a triplex and moving into one of the units and renting out the other two, you start to really understand a lot of different aspects. And you have a better, like I said, appreciation and better knowledge, especially when you start to interview third-party property management.
Yeah, I agree. I think you need that base knowledge of understanding what's going on, why this happens, why that happens, for a number of reasons, right? You want to make sure that the property manager isn't doing stuff that they shouldn't, and that the fees are in line with what they should and whatnot. But also you need to understand what they're going through, so that you're understanding when maybe stuff doesn't rent straight away. As landlords, when you're new, you expect the property to rent in the first week, right? But that's not always realistic. It's market dependent and property dependent and area dependent. So I think it's always good to have that as well, to understand what the property manager does, so that you have some compassion with the way they do things.
It's funny you say that. So I'm thinking about my wife with cash for keys. She completely hates cash for keys. But we all know that if you own some property, it's sometimes, I wouldn't say I'm always for it, but it's a cost of doing business sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. For people who don't know, what is cash for keys?
So cash for keys is when you have a tenant, especially when you're dealing with eviction moratoriums right now. But when you have a tenant that just is not paying for one reason or another, and you basically offer them some kind of cash to move out. They have to be out the door and you're handing them cash basically on the way out. And sometimes if you have someone that hasn't paid for 2 months and they need a new place to stay, cash for keys might be a good deal, especially in markets that are more tenant friendly. And it might take 2 months, 3 months to help them move on through an eviction process.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes offering them a few bucks might be a way to move them out.
Yeah, because it can end up costing you a lot more in the long run, right? People might think, "Oh, I don't want to pay someone to move. They've already not paid rent, or they've broken the place, or whatever." But ultimately, when you can take that anger out of it, right? Because a lot of times we get emotional and we get personally involved. Oh, they haven't paid me rent. They've done this to me, and I don't want to let them win, but you don't want to focus on that. You want to focus on just winning in general, right? Not that person. So the sooner you can get them out, the sooner you can fix up the place, the sooner you can rent the place again, the better for everyone. I think it takes a little bit of money to do that.
Absolutely. Real estate's a business, and just about everything's tax deductible. I won't say everything is, but just about everything is tax deductible.
That's a beautiful thing about real estate. The tax benefits is so huge. So then you said you invested, you were a general partner in Idaho, right? On 50 units?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that and how that came about, because you're in Rhode Island, right? And Idaho isn't the natural progression from there, I would say, right? In terms of investing.
So I've been investing in the past year and a half as well out of Rhode Island. I feel that Rhode Island is CNBC calls it tax hell. It's considered one of the worst places to start a business. So I felt that a recession is going to come eventually. So what am I going to do? Well, I could keep investing here, but don't forget, we also have no population growth either in our little section of the world. So I wanted to spread my money around to different markets and try to take some chances other places. Just because so one of my biggest mistakes was I saw that Atlanta market really take off when I was looking at like 2009, 2010, and now the prices are outrageous. And I just figured that I have to move some money around. So what I did is I started to invest a little bit in some other people's deals through syndications, which is like the larger multis. Like the smallest syndication I've ever heard of before is like 32 units, but some of them are 2, 3, 4, even 500 unit deals. And basically through a syndication, you pool your resources and your money with, you have some people that are what they call the active investors. They're the ones that make all the decisions. And then you have other people that are more the limited investors. They just invest their money and they hope that the active investors put it to work in a good way. So on the Idaho deal, basically through all my networking, there were some of my friends that knew I was out there looking to be an active role. And friend of a friend contacted me and said, hey, I am looking at a deal 2.5 hours north of me. They're in the Salt Lake City, Utah market. And they said, Pocatello, Idaho. And it's like, Pocatello, Idaho, never heard of it. Let me look it up. And basically, the FBI just built a $100 million data center in the city. The state overall has a lot of growth, people moving out of the high tax and the high population states of like California, et cetera. So it was a good place to invest some money. And we basically found a deal. It was off market. And they asked me, they needed someone to basically sign on a $2 million note and also to put up some money to help invest. And it's like, you guys know that I'm never going to be there, but I will put my money on the deal and I'll help raise money to invest in the deal. So it's funny because as we're recording this, they're actually doing this big cleanup of the neighborhood cleanup where they're cleaning every single piece of blade of grass, and they're cleaning up the whole complex right now. There's like 30 people there right now, all socially distant and everything else. But I'm like giving a thumbs up on Facebook. Nice job, guys.
You're supervising, right? That's
yeah.
So what did this property just close? When did you guys close on this property?
So we're recording. I don't know when you're going to release this. We're recording right now, late August. We closed on it in February.
Okay.
We've done, I mean, there's been work being done the whole time on it, but we have a big community cleanup today. Just because we're allowing people, if they have like old couches they don't want, there's like a dump pile, and just to freshen up the neighborhood. I mean, they know that we've done a lot of work to it. We had a few people that perhaps a drug dealer that we evicted and moved out some people, really cleaned up the area. We fixed some roofs. We've just done a lot of different things, and this is like just another thing to make everybody feel happy, safe. You know, we're trying to provide good housing for people, and just works out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What was the story on that deal? Why did you guys like it? I know you talked about a little bit about the demographics, but more about the property specific. Why did you guys like that deal? And so maybe talk a little bit about the numbers as well, if you can.
Sure. So overall, it was a very nice area. I mean, it's definitely not an A area, but it's a solid, a low B neighborhood. And this property itself had been basically passed a few times between different people who were just basically cash cow, sucking it dry, stuff like that. There wasn't any major maintenance that had been done to the property, and they kind of let anybody move into it because they were desperate for that cash flow. But some people were definitely abusing it. They wouldn't be able to move into almost any other place, and they were just trying to get as much money as they could out of the deal. So we found there was a group of people that bought it actually a year before, and they basically were fighting and arguing, and there was throwing back and forth whether or not one of them was stealing money, everything else. I mean, I have no idea. All I know is we had owners that didn't want it anymore, and they basically knocked on one of my partner's doors and said, I got to get rid of this property. Will you guys buy it from us? And I wouldn't say we made a killing on it, but off the top of my head, I think we bought it for around 2.4 million for 50 units. And yeah, now rents are lower there too, don't forget. I mean, we just moved someone into one of our 2-bedroom apartments. I think they're paying $595 plus $55 in like utility costs.
Okay.
So you know, maybe around $650 a month because they're paying some of the utility costs as well. And then we also offer internet for another $50 a month. So the most they're paying on a 2-bedroom is like $700. And we're footing some of that internet bill. But overall, it's a great property. It has room for growth. We've had some great move-ins recently, and we're at 90% occupancy within the first 6 months. So I mean, it's what they call a 506C syndication.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't mind talking about it. I can shout it from the rooftops. We still would take another investor or two if someone wants to help with some of the rehab money. We figure we'll put about $300,000 of rehab on it, and just to make it a nice place. And you know, in about 5 or 6 years, we hope to sell it. Because it's a 506C, the only problem is that you have to be what they call an accredited investor,
Mm-hmm.
which means you have to have more than $1 million not in assets, not counting your personal house. or make at least $200,000 in the past 2 years as a single person, or $300,000 in the last 2 years as a married person, you know. But yeah, it's a great deal, and there we have some very happy limited partners who don't have to lift a hammer, and they're making money right now.
Yeah, well, cool. Well, seeing as you said that, and that you can talk a little bit about it, because obviously if it'd been a 506B, you wouldn't be able to advertise it so much. Maybe there might be someone on this call that would be interested. Maybe talk a little bit about what they should expect. So someone who's not invested in a syndication before, but they meet those requirements. They have, $1 million net worth, excluding their personal residence, or they make 200,000 or 300,000 as a couple, etc. Maybe talk about what they should expect, how things work, because I think that's an interesting topic in general anyway, because people don't know so much about syndication, and then why the deal makes sense to them maybe to invest in.
Yeah, so syndication is one of the hot topics because it allows you, it's not as big as a REIT, like a real estate investment trust. It's not as big as a stock. Basically, you're becoming a partial owner of a big deal that you couldn't handle yourself. So it's really cool that you can just step away, and your goal is to get a little bit of appreciation and a little bit of cash flow for the number of years you own it. So on most deals, you're going to see some kind of preferred return that would stack up, and you get that paid out either monthly, or on this deal it'll be quarterly. It's not guaranteed, but it is expected. And even if you don't get it when you sell, that money comes out before the general partners make most of their profit.
Yeah.
So it's cool because even if you don't get it, it still gets banked over time. And if the property sells at a high enough price later, you would get all that return you're expected first, which is really cool.
Yeah. I like the preferred return, because basically what it means, as you said, that it's you get paid before any of the management team get paid. So they obviously have to pay taxes, insurance, all the expenses that are involved. But before the general partners running the deal get a single penny, you get that 8% before they get any of it. And I think that aligns the interest so much better then, right? That, if you want to make money as a general partner, you have to make sure that the investors get what they rightly deserve.
Yeah, so I on this deal, I think it's 7%, but it doesn't matter. There are 8% deals and more.
Yeah,
that's fine. The main thing you have to think about is that it's a way for you to invest in real estate without having to work on clogged toilets, and also allows you to get outside of your local market.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like we have investors from California, we have investors from Rhode Island, investors in Utah, stuff like that. It's pretty cool that you can basically build a team of investors. And, I actually went out to lunch with one of the investors on the Idaho deal because he's a local for me, and I brought him to the team, and he bought my lunch. He's so excited. It's like, dude, I couldn't do this deal unless we had limited partners. It's a symbiotic relationship,
Yeah.
The general partnership team is putting in some of their own money, but it's too big for them to do on their own. And the limited partners wouldn't be able to do it either without the general partner. So it's a good mix.
It's a brilliant mix. I think it's I think that's why it's so popular, but it works so well for so many people, because some people, they're scared to do real estate themselves anyway to start off with, or they're too busy. And that's a lot of times I find that it works best with someone that's a dentist, a lawyer, a doctor, something like that. They make great money in their W-2 job, but they don't want to be spending time fixing up a $50,000 investment property in the Midwest, right? If they're living on the East Coast, right? It doesn't make sense. But they can invest in the syndication where they make a good return, like a deal is a 7% preferred return, and then they make money on the back end if the deal is profitable. Plus, they get to share. This isn't talked about enough. I think they get to share in the tax benefits, right? They get a percentage of what they invest, according to what they invest, of the tax write-offs as well.
There's definitely tax benefits. There's leverage. I mean, think about it. You're not you don't need to sign on a $2 million note, but basically you get to lend. You're borrowing like $2 million to be a part of that deal.
Yeah.
You're part of the borrowing team, but you're not personally liable as a small investor. It's awesome. I mean, I'm invested in 7 or 8 other deals as well. I couldn't be everywhere, but it allows me to invest. Right now I'm investing in 2 deals in Texas, 2 deals in Missouri. We're negotiating to be a general partner on a deal in North Carolina right now. I'm investing in another North Carolina deal. I'm investing in a deal in Kentucky. So it's pretty cool. And what's cool is that some of them, it's a little tough with Corona going on right now, where some of the operators are a little worried. The general partners, they're holding the money. That doesn't mean they're not making money. I mean, I don't know any of my buildings or deals that is losing money, but they're holding the money just in case because of everything going on. But you're going to get it anyway. It's a little different than a dividend. I mean, a dividend, even a dividend, by the way, you're not guaranteed a return through stocks. They can cut the dividend at any time if they're worried about it. So it's a very similar concept, but it's what's cool is that it's on a piece of property, and real estate I love. So
Yeah, me too. I'm the same. I'm not a stocks guy at all. I don't invest a single penny in stocks. It's always not for me. And it works for people, right? It's just like anything. You can invest in whatever you want, and if you make it work, you make it work. But real estate just is so much simpler to me. I don't want to read company reports and understand that, you got to understand so much more about the economy and everything else like that. A piece of real estate, if you buy it in a good area, you take care of it, you take care of your tenants, and you do all the right things. It makes complete sense to me to invest in real estate.
I got a nice $500 check the other day for one of my syndication deals in Missouri. That's doing well. I mean, they can keep it. They're paying me $500 quarterly. And that's just one deal, and there's a lot of deals like that. So it's like you start getting money rolling in from different states. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. So as this show is called Wrestling with Real Estate, I do a little section now where we get Frank to wrestle with real estate. So are you ready?
Yeah.
Cool.
Definitely.
So the first question is, what would your wrestling name be? You have to pick a wrestling name. What would it be?
Geez, wrestling names. I'll tell you what, I'm thinking of 2 off the top of my head. I'll give you both of them.
Okay.
I'm half Italian, so the Italian Stallion.
Yeah, I like it.
Or I hear Frank the Tank once in a while as well.
Oh, Frank the Tank. Okay, I like Frank the Tank better. Okay, Frank. That sounds more fighting, It's like Frank the Tank. Okay, so Frank the Tank is entering the ring. What is his special move? Every wrestler has a special move. What is your special move in real estate?
We'll call it the networking pile driver.
Okay, the
networking. Between networking and team building, I wouldn't be 1/10 of what I am without my collection of partners and just the networking that I do all the time. It's pretty amazing. I've been very blessed for all the different deals. I have not been burned by any partner that I know of in any way, especially because I was a full-time teacher. Partnerships were very important to me before, and they still are now. I have a close friend. He's worth a few $1 million in real estate, and he says every single real estate deal he does, no matter what, he always picks a partner. And I said, why is that? And what he says, I need a second set of eyes to look at things, and I need someone with a different emotional level to make sure that I'm doing the right things.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that a lot, because you're only looking at things through your glasses, right? Through the way you view things, right? We all view the world differently to start off with.
Absolutely.
And we all view investments differently. So if it's just you looking at a deal with your perspective, it's so easy to miss stuff and not see the bigger picture sometimes. So I think that's really cool. That's if for no other reason, that makes sense to partner for me for sure. Now, what's been the biggest body slam you've taken in your real estate investing career?
So that was probably my first deal.
Mm-hmm.
That was before I was buying multis. I went out there and I went down to New York City at the height of the market, and I went to a land auction. And stupid me thought it was so easy to build and everything else. There was basically vacant lots across the country, and they were selling 1,000 different vacant lots, and you just bid up on them. And I picked 2 or 3 New England lots, and I ended up buying one out in Western Massachusetts. And I thought it would be a good deal, but did I overpay for it? If it worked out and if I could have built on it, I wouldn't have overpaid for it. But I ended up losing just over $20,000 because when they decided that you needed water and septic tank, everything else, it was all shale underneath. So I would have had to either blow apart the whole lot or do some kind of above ground system. And I thought it was like a community, like a condo development or something like that. No, it was like one of the original chopped up planned developments, and there was only a few houses there, and most of the lots were like all wooded and everything else. Yeah, I lost money on that. So
how do you end up getting rid of it?
I was able to sell it back to them at a loss.
Okay.
They probably resold it to somebody else sometime later.
And then did the same thing, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So was there a moment you were standing on the top rope, getting ready to jump, but you were scared? What was it, and how did you overcome it?
So instead of saying overcome it, I actually passed on it a few times.
Okay.
The concept of syndications and investing out of state. I missed that rope a few times, I guess. Like I said, I was down in Atlanta, like 2011, 2012, and I saw all these big multis that were completely vacant. And I saw all these new developments already pre-planned, the road's already in, one or two houses built, and it was in foreclosure. And I didn't have the know-how, the networking, the time, the money. I was out of state, and I said, and I didn't do anything with those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a few friends about 1 or 2 years later that were doing some syndication deals, but they had lost money on one, so they persuaded me not to get in.
Right.
And if I had done some of those deals, I would probably be a little bigger than what I am today, which is fine. You'll learn things as you go. I'm not complaining about my own path right now, but those scared me away for a few years, and I came back bigger and stronger, 2019, 2020, and was able to pull off some deals.
Yeah. Well, the main thing is you got there in the end, right? It's not how long it takes you, as long as you get there. Cool. Well, Frank, thank you so much for taking the time today, and thank you for wrestling with real estate. Before we go, do you want to tell us more where people get a hold of you? They can find you maybe on social media, and maybe if someone wants to get in touch and find more about that deal in Idaho.
Yeah, definitely. So the biggest way to find us is through our podcast, through our Instagram. Our Instagram is The Cashflow Kings. We have just under 13,000 followers. We post every single day. And you can look me up through Frank Patalano on Facebook. I have tons of different LLCs. We're always out there everywhere. I'm sure you can find me. If you're not finding me, you're not looking hard enough. I'm out there. And like I said, we're always talking to new people. I network with people every single day. That's how I met you. I mean, I'm talking to people throughout the country, at least one person a day from a different state, et cetera, whatever. That's how people found me for a possible North Carolina deal we're working on right now. The Texas deal that we're negotiating, always working on different things.
Nice.
And the local deals too.
Nice. Okay. I'll put the links into all that in the description below.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Frank. Thank you for sharing your story today. It's been really fun talking to you and hearing what you've been up to. Thank you for giving the time. We really appreciate it. And I think there's a lot of stuff in there today that will help a lot of people, I'm sure.
I think this was a great tag team effort.
It was. We'd make a great tag team.
There you go.
Thank you, man.
Thank you, sir.